membership. I had to renew it. All right, rise and shine. It is more world card time. That's me right here. And no, that is not the Dan, the great curator. It's actually Matt, Dappz Sports. Matt, welcome, Dappz Sports, to be the co-host while the great curator is away. Thank you for being my co-host for tonight's show. How are you, man?
I'm well. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to have the great curator over my head, so I can represent. I remember the first time I watched Between Two Slabs, I think, was probably over a year ago when Pop had soon after Pop had introduced me to the Galaxy set. I don't know if it was after I purchased from Curator the Super, or if I had watched an episode before I met you guys, but I remember thinking, like, I want to be on this show. I want to give my 2 cents about Galaxy.
Well, maybe we were watching it first, so you know how to tenderize the guy. Whoever was tenderizing at that time. That was last March, so everybody didn't know. This is the guy who bought the Kurosawa. I first found it at Atlantis Culture Collision almost a year ago. And the man had it in a shoebox and waited till the very last minute to give it to me. He goes, before you head to the airport on Sunday, I have something that you may be interested in. And the guy was literally set up right next to me the entire time, talking to me. Great guy, nice guy. His name's G Collectibles. They'll probably be there. I think he was actually asking if I was going to be there this time, but unfortunately I will not. I heard you're going to be there. It's this weekend, correct?
Yes, Culture Collision is I'm going to fly in on Thursday from LA till Sunday. They asked me to participate in this 3-on-3 or 5-on-5 basketball tournament.
You're going to do the basketball tournament too.
Yeah. I don't even know if it's 3-on-3 or 5-on-5. I'm excited about it, but they sent me like a jersey or a t-shirt, you know.
And how are you at basketball?
I'm pretty good. I mean, I play almost on a weekly basis in LA.
Good.
So, you know, I'm like, I don't know. I'm not like practicing over here, but you know, I'm obviously you want to get up some shots before the game, you know.
Now, do you get Pop Count Eric with you as well playing, or does he play?
He's definitely mentioned that he plays before, but I've never seen his game.
Okay, so he's not like your sparring partner. He's not your when you practice. He doesn't try to.
I can't comment on his level of skill because I've never seen him play. I can't say anything bad. I can't say anything good. I just, you know, he's asked me about it, so.
Maybe it's in his contract. He's not allowed to play. I don't know.
Yeah, his core forbids him from participating in anything.
They've seen him play, and they're like, dude, no, you can't. Yeah. For the safety of others, yourself, do not play. So anyway, that guy bought it sold it to me for dirt cheap. And because I had told him it was my favorite card. And lo and behold, the guy had the card. And then weeks later, month or two later, I actually sold it to Curator. And then the Curator sold it to you in March of last year at the Union Marketplace in Del Mar, California. And that's pretty much how we got to know Dappz. Even though, Dappz, you may not know this, I started watching your videos back during COVID lockdown. They were like what got me through, you know, stuck in my apartment in West Hollywood. And to find out, you also live in West Hollywood. And your store was only like a few blocks from where my apartment was at that time. And during COVID, I was like, when I get out of lockdown, my girlfriend and I are going to move into a bigger place with a yard and stuff and get a dog. And that's what we did. But we only live probably about 2 miles from your store now. So it's kind of crazy. This is the guy, because I really liked you showing your cards. I think you were in your apartment. I have no clue. But I was like, this guy, he's very engaging. He's very articulate. And then it was so surreal of how you and I became friends from the card hobby. And here you are on my show. It's crazy.
I have multiple questions for you right now. So
okay.
I guess we'll start with the card that you purchased, the Kurosawa.
Okay.
I guess what would have happened, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but the order of events, I guess, would have been Star Wars Galaxy 21. I think it came out in August or September.
It did.
So when did you rip it when it first released?
Yeah, I would just start buying it just for the heck of it. I thought it was kind of like worthless at the time. I really did. I was just personally enjoying it. And every now and then, when I was at a show or something, I would just buy a box. I think, $150 at the time? 200, does that sound about right?
Yeah, yep.
And then I'm just opening it up, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. It's got like serial numbers on it and the refractors. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And then, I would lace some out, but here in LA, no one would give me the time of day for those cards. They wouldn't even, look at them. So I was like, what am I going to do with these cards? And then Dan goes, you should bring all that stuff to Dallas, man. I was like, okay. And then I knew that the Book of Boba Fett was about to start up in January. And I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I should get these cards slabbed. It was just an experiment. So I got them like all the low numbered ones. I mean, I was buying like the red refractors, purple refractors, the X-fractors, all the low numbered ones for just pennies on the dollar. Literally, like on eBay and everything, everywhere I can find them. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get them graded. So I sent a few to SGC and a few to HGA even. And I would get those custom ones, the HGA ones, and then PSA. Almost all of them came back gem mints.
Is HGA still around?
And yeah, unfortunately, yes.
And not negatively. I just didn't know. Heard things about them.
But I thought it was cool because I actually sent a lot of the Boba Fett ones and some other low numbered ones to HGA, and the custom slabs that were returning back from me from them were very impressive, I would say. So if you were not like, a person who cared about slabs and just liked the look of it, of the Star Wars refractor card in an HGA with a custom, and it had like Star Wars things on it. I mean, it was pretty impressive. I would commend them. They should have done more advertising for this. I think they would have been better off too if they had maybe concentrated or try to get their demographics who were maybe non-sports instead of sports. I think that could have helped them a lot. And believe it or not, those were the first slabs actually sold of the Star Wars Galaxy Chrome were in the HGA slabs because people were pretty impressed with them. But, once I sold those, I just stayed with PSA and SGC after that. Because it took really much too long to get my HGA cards back from them. But I brought all those cards with me to Dallas. This time last year was actually my first Dallas card show. And Dan told me to bring all my non-sports. And I bet you I had 2 display cases of Star Wars cards, vintage, modern, mostly the HGA Galaxy Chrome. And I got wiped out. Literally wiped out. The 2 display cases just by Saturday were gone, completely gone. People were just like, I want that, gone. My experiment worked. Curator, it was burning him. He was just jealous like crazy that I was selling that much Star Wars cards. He couldn't take it. So he started buying Star Wars himself. And I was like, wow, I did not see this happening. I had underestimated myself, and I was like, I better start sending more to get graded. Fortunately, I had a bunch more at PSA, and I bought a bunch of Star Wars. People were bringing them to me at the Dallas show in January. So I got those all slabbed and ready for the Atlanta Culture Collision and then the next Dallas show, which was in March.
So it's really funny, too, because at the time when Galaxy dropped, I don't know if you remember or I'm sure you're aware of Star Wars Signature Series, but it's like 1 card auto.
Yes.
Right? So all the Star Wars products that I had tested out on my stream preceding Galaxy 21, I was super unimpressed with. The only one that I actually enjoyed selling to customers was Signature Series because it was cheap enough where you could rip it and it didn't take up too much like stream time, because the other products, it's like they're $100 or they're $200, and it takes 30 minutes to get through. And then you got people who are sports fans complaining about Star Wars, and I'm like, why am I alienating my sports fans, you know what I mean? And I'm not, it's one thing if I love the product and I thought it was really cool, but it was those paper products. I forget the Star Wars exactly. And then like the tin can Mandalorian products.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like impressed with any Star Wars products. The only ones that I was interested in selling were the Signature Series. So then when Galaxy drops, my buddy down the street who was a distributor, he tells me, hey, I got this product. And I was like, I don't want to hear about it. so I didn't even, experience, because if I had I ripped Star Wars Galaxy right when it came out, I probably would have liked it a lot more. Mm-hmm. But because I said, nah, you know what? I don't want it. I'm not interested. It took me, I think, 90 days before Pop Count came up to me and he was like, hey man, I've been ripping this Star Wars product. It's incredible. You got to see it. And he's like, really into it. And I'm kind of like probably building breaks on my website and like totally, checked out. And finally I see the Kurosawa and it was either a refractor or a purple. And I remember thinking like, wow.
Oh, I bet it was Eric's purple that he purchased from me.
Yeah. And it was, and I remember saying like, this might be like the most beautiful card I've seen in a long time, like across the board of any product. Right. So now I'm engaged. Right. And now I'm doing research on how much these things are selling for. And I'm pretty much just only superfractor shopping at first, like just to see what are superfractors going for. And I'm like, superfractors are selling for $500. This doesn't make any sense to me. But I don't care if it's Star Wars, that it's a one of one, right? Like it's a one of one. $500 is way too cheap. I want to understand. And now I'm just watching eBay like every night on these cards, superfractors, bidding on them, making low offers on everything.
Right.
And I remember hearing about not the sale from the distributor or J Collectibles to you, but you to Dan. I remember hearing about that sale go down, and I remember being like really pissed, like, oh man, I would have bought that for that price. You know what I mean?
Right.
And also, I'm always at the Dallas Card Show, and I just happen to not be at that one. You know what I mean? So that made me even more irritated, which was like, I've been at 4 of the 6 Dallas Card Shows this year, and I didn't go to this one, and I definitely would have paid that price for the card. So now fast forward to Del Mar, and I don't know if we went over this story before, and maybe some people have heard it, some people haven't.
Okay.
And we filmed all this, so you could actually rewatch it. But I'm with my cameraman outside of the show in Del Mar in the parking lot, and we're kind of like going over what the YouTube video might be, right? Like what we think it's going to be. And it's I think it's right before the NBA playoffs are about to start, or they're just
starting, right? Yeah,
they're just starting. And I think I had like 10K in cash or 20K in cash in my bag, and I'm like, I think I had 20K in cash. And I'm like, I'm going to spend $10,000 on one card. And I'm basically like making a bet on a player who I think could go deep into the playoffs. Right. So I'm discussing that into the camera, like, oh, we could bet on Tatum and he could go to the finals, or we could bet on Curry. Right. And talking through different players. And that ends up being Tatum versus Curry, by the way.
Exactly.
And in the video too, I'm talking to my buddy, Zach Gutterman, and at Del Mar, and I'm like looking at this $15,000 or $20,000 flawless Tatum at a 15 on card auto, and I'm like, oh, this is sick. I might have to buy this one, right? And had I purchased that, it definitely went up in like a month because they went to the finals, right? Mm-hmm. But I would have had to have sold it like in that moment, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, I hear about Curator being at the show and the card being at the show, the Kurosawa, and I'm like, I got to see this thing, right? And that's how I end up in front of you and Curator. And at the time, I was under the impression that Curator wanted like $50K for the card. You know what I mean? I'm like, he's going to want some nutty number for this card, right? He just bought it 60 days ago. And that conversation went down, and it was
and he literally just got it back from PSA that week too.
Right. And and I'm thinking he wants some crazy number. So I kind of lean into it. And I'm like, yo, Curator, how much do you want for this card? He's like, oh, well, I just got an offer for $10K. And I'm like, And he's like, and I said no, and I'm thinking to myself like, okay, well, that doesn't make me feel good that he just got a 10K offer. You know what I mean? Because like I already don't want to pay 10K, but also like I haven't really thought about buying this card seriously yet, right? But then I throw it back in his court, and I'm like, what? Because he was like, I'd have to get a crazy offer for this card, and I just said, well, what's crazy? And I'm thinking 50K, and he goes, I'd have to get 20,000. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I can get this card for less than $20,000 right now, right? Because if he says that, in my mind, I'm like, I can negotiate this down a little bit, right? Like, if he wants 20, I can probably get a little lower, right? So that's where the huddle comes in, and we're going back and forth, and then we ultimately, agree on 16.5, and I think that he's excited because he just 3x'd his money, or close to 4x. And then I'm excited because even at this price, the same weekend, the Lewis Hamilton Superfractor of F1 PSA 7 sold for $900,000.
Jeez.
and in my mind, I'm like, if Star Wars does what I believe it's going to do, and all I believe it's going to do, Merlin, is I believe that the amount of people who buy Star Wars merchandise, which is toys, action figures, art, signatures, whatever it is, right? Like anything you'd see at the Star Wars celebration, they have not been introduced to cards, right, in a major way. And they definitely haven't been introduced to Galaxy, which is, in my opinion, the most beautiful set there is. And we'll get into 21 and 22 Galaxy, later in the show. But 22 Galaxy, in my opinion, is like right underneath 21, right? Like I think it's just as pretty. I was nervous about the black borders. I'm no longer nervous about them. I think the borders also, they make it tougher to get PSA 10s, which you could say is a bad thing. But you could also say, well, now there's less PSA 10s, which is going to drive the price up of the PSA 10s, which is good for the market ultimately. And what my job ultimately is, and I think why Curator also, said in the video why he wanted to sell the card to me was, I'm going to do the work to make sure that this set, and beautiful, and not just Galaxy, if there's any set that is manufactured by any company, Topps, Fanatics, whoever it is, Panini, any set that's manufactured that I think is beautiful and is a true work of art, like I'm going to pump that set, right? And I'll be the first to tell you, like, like I just said, I didn't like a lot of Star Wars products leading up to this. A lot of the paper products. Yeah. Any product that is, screenshots of a movie, I think that's lazy. It's not art, right? And I think that it doesn't appeal to the eye. And I think a lot of cards, I come from that sports card market, right? Where Kaboom, Downtown, Genesis, all of these prints are art, right? Like the chase cards start with art, right? Outside of one of ones, right? Your super short prints and your short prints, those are all based in art, right? And an artistic rendition of the player or the team or the logo. And what's cool about Star Wars is, you have these artistic renditions of Vader or Yoda or Luke or the Jedi or whatever it is, and whoever your favorite character is. So in my opinion too, going forward, how many different artists can get involved in these Star Wars sets? And I think that's limitless. That's infinite, right? Like there's going to be X amount of Star Wars artists every year and new ones being created every single year, who I hope, which will also be part of what I put on my shoulders, is getting those artists some type of submission portal into Fanatics, and Topps, so that, and Disney, which is probably the biggest hurdle, so that you can submit your artwork that could maybe be featured in a set one day, right? So that's what I want to do. I want to be at Star Wars celebrations over the next couple of years, set up Dappz Sports, Dappz Galaxy, whatever we're going to call, just Dappz brand, showing these people who love Star Wars, showing them, hey, check out these cards because they're sick. They're miniature versions of art they're collectible. There's a grading process. You can flip and make money. You can collect if you don't like the flip game. You can collect and then grade to make your cards more valuable. There's so many different ways to enter the card market. And, my background was in sports cards, and I just saw a similar pattern with Star Wars. So that $16,500 number in my mind was small in what this market can become, because Star Wars, I believe, is like the 5th highest grossing media franchise, right? It's like Pokemon, Hello Kitty, two other weird brands that you're aware of. and then Star Wars, right? So and what that means is there's a ton of people spending money on Star Wars merch, right? Or collectibles or whatever it is. So they just haven't seen Galaxy yet. They haven't seen the artwork in these cards. And that's also part of what my goal is. Like, I have no interest in selling the Kurosawa anytime soon.
Okay.
I don't, you know what I mean? Like, if somebody said, I'll give you 50 grand for it, sure, I could make 30 grand, but like, that's
sure you'll sell it for 50 or not.
I'm saying if somebody were to offer me $50,000 this week for the card, I think there's more value for me to have the card and walk around with it on my neck or in a case at a show for the next 3 years. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm using that as a marketing tool to a degree, right?
Right.
So for me, again, you could call me crazy. Oh, you bought that for 16.5, you can make 30 grand on it. That's great. But also, if I expose, all these Star Wars fans to the market, right, over the next 3 to 5 years, it's just supply and demand, right? There's going to be so many more people who want Star Wars cards. And then there's only 1,000 or 1,200 cases of 21 Galaxy that were printed. How many people can get their hands on those cards? How many of those cards became PSA 10s or SGC 10s, right? And now you have 22 Galaxy, which again, like I said, is also beautiful. And some fans, if they can't afford 21, or maybe 22 surpasses it in some ways.
Right.
The beautiful thing about this is that, in football or basketball or any sports, the rookie cards are the chasers. Like, whoever the 21 draft class is, that's your chaser rookie card. 22, and that's all based on player performance. But with Star Wars, all these characters are already set. Like, Vader is always going to be your chase. Luke, Yoda, those are going to probably, and Leia. Those are going to be the ones that fetch the largest prices on eBay or in the market. So, Darth Vader can't get injured, right? Like a sports figure can, right? An athlete can get injured and that can tank their value. So a one-of-one Darth Vader, if the market, deems this is the card that everybody wants the most, that's, who's to say there won't be a superfractor that's going to sell for $100,000? I mean,
right.
I don't know if you just saw the Yoda on Dagobah on a private sale went for over, I think 25 or 20,000, somewhere between 20 and 25K. And based on sales of Yoda on Dagobah, if you were to look up all the sales of Kurosawa refractors, atomics, waves, every print of that versus Yoda on Dagobah, the Kurosawa blows that price out of the water on every single one. So that means that currently that 16.5 that I spent on Kurosawa, like, you can do the math on what that is, right? So for example, a PSA 9 X-Fractor Kurosawa recently sold on eBay for $2,500, right? Now, in sports cards, this number can be debated, right? But it's generally between a 3 and 4X, right? On a PSA 9 to a PSA 10. And just for the sake of this argument, we won't go 4X, we'll go 3X, right? So, I mean, if a PSA 9 is 2,500 of the X, then a PSA 10 should be roughly $7,500, right? I think it's closer to 10,000 at the moment. But we'll call it 7,500 for the sake of this argument. Now, there's 10 of those cards in the world, right? There's 10 X-Fractor Kurosawas. The PSA 10 did 7,500. If the Superfractor is worth 10 times the amount of the X-Fractor, is that the value of the Kurosawa? 10 times 7,500? Because that's a lot of money, right?
Is.
So again, this is just, look at the sales on eBay. I'm not advocating for the price of my card right now. I'm just using the same methods I would apply to sports cards on Star Wars cards
to figure out the scale of it.
Right. So, and this can also just be tested on any card. You don't have to use Kurosawa. You could use any card. Go search what the purple sells for versus the Mojo, because the purple, in theory, should sell double than the Mojo. But, in my opinion, like, I would rather have a Mojo because I love the print more than the purple. I love the X. I love the wave. Even the atomics are incredible. Whereas the reds and the purples, I don't love them as much, right? But if you're going to build a rainbow, you need those cards to complete your set. So, it's just been an interesting journey over the last close to a year now from the time I purchased it. And listen, I'm in discussions right now to, figure out with whether it's Dappz or whether it's Fanatics or whoever. I want them to be set up in a major way at Star Wars Celebration. You know what I mean? Because that's where the Star Wars community gets introduced to these cards is, wow, did you see Dappz' setup? Did you see all the Galaxy they had on display? Right? And then if I can help them in any way to showcase, the cards and my knowledge and just listen, I put in hours and hours of research on Galaxy prices. I'm going to be a wealth of knowledge to somebody new to the hobby, right? Somebody who's just entering the Star Wars market, whether it's pricing, whether it's just learning about the variations, atomics, waves, Prism, Mojo, purple, red, X-Fractor, super, right? Like explaining these things to people. And I do it every day anyway. It's I enjoy it. So I hope that. Go ahead.
Was Dappz even like set up at Star Wars Celebration? I can't remember. I don't think they were they?
I don't think they were. And if they were, they weren't set up the way they should have been. And what I mean by that is you got to have a display of the cards. You have to have a display of Galaxy, whether it's, Corey from Show Your Slabs, like imagine just 100 card display of Galaxy, even if they're not graded PSA, even if they're just raw, you walk up to that. That's powerful. It's art, right? You walk into the Dappz, you walk into their booth and then you see 100, or even if it's different stacks of 20 stood up, it could be in cases. You need to display these cards so people can see them. And then when they're exposed to them, that's where I believe enough people seeing the cards, that's where it's supply and demand. Like more people want the cards. There's only so many of them. That's how the price goes up.
Well, hopefully I think it's going to be in London this year. So you need to get to London, get your passport ready, Dappz.
That's true. That is true.
So I don't know if Dappz is going to set there. Who knows? I mean, they should. I mean, you're selling this product. Why wouldn't you be at the Star Wars Celebration and celebrating the Star Wars cards?
Vintage Lord Canada said, I think Darth got injured a few times.
Oh, yeah. I think he got an Achilles heel torn or something, or ACL a couple of times, during his battles with the other Jedis.
Sometimes lightsabers, they just nick the Achilles, right?
Yeah, he got it healed though. He's in that aqua tank or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And then, so, but you do other stuff too. I mean, did you start opening up the Star Wars product like last year or when it first came out, when you started breaking, or what?
So after, I can't say when I started ripping, because what happened for me was I actually started buying boxes and sealed cases of Galaxy 21. Okay. And I wasn't selling it on my stream. I was stashing it for myself.
Okay.
And then I probably held 2 or 3 cases and I probably got in when the boxes were between $2 and $250. So I got at least, close to 40 boxes probably for that $250 price. And now like we sell them on our website for $800. And they're $800 because we got to pay, close to $700 for them just to get them, and we can't even find them. So, that's what we're doing on our stream when I get them. And there's obviously still supers out there, like Leap of Faith hasn't been pulled. There's some big ones that haven't been pulled.
Oh, really?
But I've never seen it. So I mean, maybe it hasn't, but I haven't seen it. And
hopefully it's just not sitting in someone's pack, just in a shoebox somewhere in a closet. They don't even know what they have.
Right.
That's always a scary thought.
So who knows what's out there, but there's a lot of supers that I think are still on the market somewhere. And yeah, I mean, I started ripping some boxes, and then as I would go to different shows last year, I'd kind of bring a box and I'd rip it. And now I have one sealed case and probably like 2 or 3 boxes left from that I still just like, I haven't, me and Pop shot this piece that we haven't even posted yet, where we each took 6 Galaxy boxes and put it on the table, and we just were like ripping packs. Just
oh my goodness.
And we ended up pulling a Mojo Kurosawa.
Ooh, nice. So do you think, how much more did they produce of Series 2 than Series 1? Do you know, or how much?
Yeah, it's roughly double. So I want to say it was 1,200 on the 21 Galaxy was the print run, and this year's print run is closer to 2,000, which some people might kind of be like, oh man, but I really wouldn't. You know, I would advise everybody not to be worried about that, because just to put that in perspective, like Topps Chrome Baseball, they produce like 40,000 cases.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
So we're talking about 2,000. It's double the print run. It's not something I'm necessarily worried about. I think that there's a lot of supers that still haven't been pulled. Remember, we put a bounty out for Luke assembles his lightsaber, and David Adams put out a bounty for Lack of Faith. So, and neither of those have been hit. So once one of those gets hit, by the way, and either will pay out or David Adams will pay out, like, I think that's going to reinvigorate the chase too, because now there's only one left. And once people see that there was a payment, right? Like, oh wow, they actually cashed him out for 15K. You know, that's going to drive more sales, because people are going to be like, oh, I want to hit the Lack of Faith, or I want to hit the Luke.
Right. Yeah, and then there's probably, is the set bigger this time than Series 1 as well? What was the Series 1? Was it like 150 cards or 100?
I didn't do 21, run the numbers on that, but I did recently do 22, and it's like 100 cards in the base set, but then there's
many subsets
and the vintage. I think it's around 240 cards total.
Yeah, there's definitely more subsets this time than Series 1. So that's probably why you're starting to see more people opening it sooner. So is that the reason you're seeing more superfractors posted now or for sale?
I think it's that, but I think, listen, man, between what you and me and Curator and Pop, you know, and a number of other Star Wars influencers, we'll call them, but people who just love the hobby and create content or talk about Galaxy or whatever product it is, you know, it's been a culmination at this point. Like, we've driven this market, right? Like, to a degree, right? Now, what percentage of the market we've driven can be debated, but I've been creating Star Wars content since, you know, Del Mar, right? Like, and then when 22 came out a couple weeks ago, you know, I'm just creating more and more content. I don't know if you saw, you were a part of it, coming up to you and giving you the Galaxy pack.
Right.
By the way, Merlin, I don't know if you checked the numbers on that, but that did like 30,000 views.
What? Really?
Yeah, you're
awesome.
Your face is on.
And then I see your coworkers. You had them go oversell the cards, Star Wars cards, and they sold one to me. I hope you gave them the commission for it.
They manipulated me. But hold on, I gotta show you this too.
For the Darth Vader card, I think it was a Prism Refractor.
Yeah, let me see how many you're at, because you were crushing it. So we posted our video we posted in collaboration with the Dallas Card Show, I believe. And yeah, the last time I checked, you were up there, man. Hold on, let me see. And then she breaks. Yeah, you have 23,000 people watching Merlin rip this pack.
What's that on Instagram or
yeah, that's Instagram.
TikTok?
And that's Instagram, yeah.
Okay.
And that's just, you know, us going up to you with that pack, and it's cool because it's engaging and we're giving away some free packs. And, you know, what's the worst thing that happens? I give a free pack away to somebody and they pull the super and I got to pay them 15K. Like, listen, am I eager to spend another 15,000 on a super? I don't know if I'm eager, but at the same time, I think it's great for the hobby. I think it's great for Star Wars, just the community in general. And like I said, I think that sets off now Lack of Faith is the next one that has to get hit, right?
So are you saying like the Lack of Faith is probably like the Kurosawa of Series 2?
Yeah, so David Adams and I, we discussed, they reached out and they were just asking what I thought the chase cards were. And I actually said the three chase cards I listed were Star Wars, which is the box art, and then Lack of Faith, which, and again, this was just on like quick checking eBay sales, right? And Lack of Faith was doing numbers, right? And so was Star Wars. Star Wars refractors, by the way, were doing 100, 120, and that's what Kurosawa was doing for a while, and probably still. I would say a Kurosawa refractor raw is probably somewhere between $80 and $100. Mm-hmm. But when I saw that 120 number, I'm like, okay, well, this is a sought-after card, right? So, you do the math on, because remember, Kurosawa PSA 10s were doing north of 400 at one point, just a refractor, right? And now they're probably closer to 250, maybe somewhere around there. But that's going to have a pop count too, right? Like the Kurosawa refractor, there's 100 PSA 10s or 200 or whatever the number is. And in my opinion, those will go back up to 400 too. So, or maybe 300, I don't know. It really just depends on how many people get turned on to this set as a collectible. And listen, I'm nowhere near the biggest Star Wars nerd or biggest Star Wars fan. I popped in the VHS tapes in the 90s and would rewatch the originals as a kid at 5, 6, 7 years old. So I've been in it for a while. And then, I would be in 5th grade or, middle school or whenever it was when the episodes 1 through 3 came out. So I've always had Star Wars in my life. There's never really been a time where I haven't been around Star Wars. So for me, it's very easy to be attracted to these things. But again, it's not like I eat, sleep, and breathe Star Wars all day. So the people who do that, who find this set, who knows where they're going to take it? You know what I mean? So that's just part of the reason I think there's so much room for more Star Wars fans to get into this hobby. It's the art, it's the collectible aspect, and it's the scarcity, right? Like Super Fractors, you're the only one with that card in the world. Right. Mm-hmm. So once you get the big time buyers who come into the hobby and they're Star Wars fans, I mean, you can kind of name your price on certain cards, right? Or at minimum, you can say, all right, well, this Super did 25K. So, I'll give you a couple thousand off, but Yoda on Dagobah did 25K. I want 20,000 for this card. And you have a price to work with. And I don't think Yoda on Dagobah 21 is the first card or the last card you're going to see break 20K.
And that's the first one. That's the first one.
Listen, again, there's a ton of private sales, right?
I'm sure, but the one that's been public that we know of.
Yep, at least that one's been in Instagram stories, Facebook groups, right?
Jeez.
And we'll see where it goes. There's just more and more sales that are coming, and again, it's if Lewis Hamilton rookie card can do $900,000. It's very easy for me to believe that a Darth Vader or a Luke Skywalker or a Yoda can do 100K.
Now, what makes it like for a lot of people, say collectors or people, say flippers, anybody that's in the card market, they feel like because they've seen what's happened between all of us here, and if they pull a Super Fractor, then they immediately think, oh, this is a $25,000 card when it may not be. Like, what makes it not versus the Kurosawa or the Yoda and Dagobah, like, because they don't understand, like, why isn't their card worth 25,000 if the other ones were?
Well, I mean, it's back to what we talked about. So in football or basketball or any sport, you know who your rookie cards are, right? Mm-hmm. Those are going to drive the market for that set. But then in addition to that, like, who are your MVPs of recent years? Patty Mahomes, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe, Josh Allen isn't who's the next MVP? Who are you banking on? Luka Doncic hasn't won an MVP yet, but he's everybody says he's a favorite every year. The Vegas, right? Like, Vegas odds are always good to use as a marker for who's going to be the next MVP, top 5, right? So those guys in the set, if you're chasing, and then you chase the art of that particular player. So Patrick Mahomes, downtown. Patrick Mahomes, kaboom. Tom Brady, downtown. Tom Brady, gold. Tom Brady, right? So it's like the best player and then the shorter prints. So, you have there's a receiver who was drafted on the Buccaneers. His name's Jalen Darden 2 years ago.
No.
And to answer your question, it's like Jalen Darden is not worth as much as Tom Brady. And there's a reason for that, right? So it's the same thing with Star Wars. Darth Vader is going to command a higher dollar amount than an Ewok, right? Like, right. They're not a lead character, right? So superfractors are definitely cool, but there's only, let's say, 20 superfractors or 10 superfractors that are going to command that top tier price in every set, right? And the way to figure out what those are, though, is by the sales of the refractors, by the sales of the atomics, right? And that's, anybody can do that. All you're doing is going to eBay, enter Darth Vader, which is the name of a 22 card, right? Enter Darth Vader atomic. Look at the prices. Check the last three. One sold for 150, one sold for 125, one sold for 100. The average is 125. And now look at what Luke is selling for, right? Is he close to 125 or is he half the price? Because that's going to determine what the super sells for, right? Or give you a ballpark of what the super might sell for. But again, it comes down to two. If you have a one of one, if you have the biggest Yoda or Ewok or whoever the fan is, and they've got cash, they'll overspend on that one-on-one because remember, it's also kind of about posturing and flexing on people, right? Like, I am the only one with this card, right? Like, that's what and it's true. You're the only one. So if you want to pay an extra $5K, listen, you could have said when I bought the Kurosawa from Dan that card was not worth that much money. It was worth less than that when I bought it.
Right.
Maybe there's an argument for that. But again, me as the buyer, I thought that I might be overpaying for this at current market value, but what I believe this card price can go to is way higher than this, right? So people will make decisions like that in the 22 Galaxy set, and then who knows, something very interesting as well is they made a Yoda on Dagobah in 22, right? So now there's
that's right.
There's a version 1 in 21. There's a version 2. Is Yoda on Dagobah going to come out in 3 in a different artistic rendition? Is Yoda on Dagobah a card every year? Because now there's going to be this, like, you could potentially make like a rainbow of Yoda on Dagobah over the next 20 years or whatever it is, right? So there's a lot of cool things that I hope to, influence in the Star Wars community in terms of like cards and Galaxy and maybe new sets that aren't Galaxy, that are something else. But, for me, I'm thinking, why isn't there a Darth Vader Kaboom, right? So if Fanatics...
Oh, that could be crazy.
Right. If Fanatics purchases Panini, right, and now they've acquired Panini right here, now they get to produce all the cards, all the football and the basketball cards that they produce, and those different types of, inserts. Guess what? Those can be applied to Star Wars now too. So, I'm going to be pushing in Topps and Fanatics and Panini's ear. Hey, why don't we have a Darth Vader Kaboom? Why don't we have a Yoda downtown? Why don't we have a Luke Skywalker gold, right? And there's just, this is the beginning in my mind, right? This is the beginning of it. And then in addition to all this, obviously Mandalorian will come out again, and Ahsoka just came out, but like, I don't look at those as there's going to be a Star Wars movie that comes out in the next 5 years, which is a big deal again.
Right.
Where everyone's like, oh my God, this Star Wars, and I don't know what it is yet, but when that happens, right now everyone's talking about Star Wars again, and that's where the market can take another huge, leap. Is we're doing this without any Star Wars hype, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine Fanatics down the line. There's a Star Wars movie coming out, and they time up Galaxy 26 with that movie. The hype around Galaxy 26 will be huge. And then anybody who didn't know about Galaxy 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, like now they're educating themselves. Which sets do I like? Which ones don't I like? And I mean, listen, in sports, people, I was buying LeBron 07 and Kobe 08's Topps Chrome at the Dallas Card Show last week.
You were? Okay.
About 13, 14 years ago. But I like those sets more than a lot of the modern stuff. So again, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. People are going to determine which sets they like the most. I'm bullish on Galaxy just because of the artwork behind it. I don't think you can really, I don't think you can talk down on the artwork of Galaxy.
No, they're great. I mean, I even like those portraits that we pulled last week at the show.
Dude, there's so many cool inserts, and some people will be like, I don't like this card. Not like, you know, there's few cards that I really dislike. I mean, listen, like Tech and Weequay and Boss, those guys. I'm not in love with those characters, but then, you know, some people love Bad Batch, and somebody just paid big. I think I don't know if it's PC Ritz. Somebody had
on the Bad Batch show, the animated show.
Somebody had the Dueling with Dooku Rainbow. I think it was PC Ritz, or whoever it was. They had the Dueling with Dooku Rainbow or close to the Rainbow, and they decided they wanted the it was either Bosk or it was Tech, I think, Superfractor out of 22, and they sold it and then acquired that Superfractor, and like that's what happens. You have all this 21 collection, and you see 22, and you're like, you know what? I think I want to collect 22 now, right? And maybe that's a good idea. Maybe it's not a good idea. But again, that's up to each individual, right? It's are you collecting? Are you flipping? Are you buying and holding long term? There's so many different ways to get into cards, right?
Yeah, I've bought 6 boxes so far. I haven't opened one yet. Dan's going to kill me. He's been trying to get me to open them. I haven't even opened them yet. I think I'm going to do it this week.
And we're going to be in Atlanta, and I'm going to do the same thing I did with you in Atlanta, which is open a box and go up to everybody at the show and just, you know, make sure everybody knows, hey, if you haven't seen Galaxy yet, it's a beautiful product. Check it out. And also, by the way, if you open this pack right now, you might hit a Superfractor, and if you hit the right one, it's worth $15K. So
now you had a booth at Dallas, correct?
Yep.
Okay, and what were you selling stuff, or were you just buying? Like, what were you doing at your booth primarily?
I was only selling Galaxy packs.
Only Galaxy, no sports or anything else?
No.
Really?
No, and part of the reason for that is, listen, at these card shows, man, everybody's selling sports cards. Every table is sports cards, and sure, I definitely have the right eye for what's unique and what people like, but I sell on stream sports every single day. And now I'm selling a little bit more Star Wars, but it's a breath of fresh air for me to be at the show selling Galaxy, selling Star Wars. So basically what I had was a 2 display cases of 21 slab Galaxy. Okay. And then I was selling 22 Galaxy packs and boxes, which I'll do again in Atlanta because Galaxy, over the course of the last 2 years, the reason that I, you know, and I think it's pretty genuine and people believe me is like, this is my favorite product. Like, I haven't wanted to rip any sports product more than Galaxy 21, and now Galaxy 22 is beautiful. And that I don't rip a lot of product personally, right? I rip a lot of product for other people and on stream. And what I've realized with, you know, running live streams and breaking is the rush of opening packs. You get the rush, even opening for other people. Like, I don't need to keep the cards. Because with me, like, I want to keep every single card I pull. And there's because, you know, people, what do you like to collect, Dappz? Like, I want everything I see. You know what I mean? Like, I can't. That's why I can't. So what do I PC? I PC a lot of LeBron and Kobe because I like to buy stuff that I hold long term.
Wait a minute. I watched your videos. Didn't you not sell a Joe Burrow card, auto card there?
So I did. So I sold Joe Burrow. So I don't know if you saw me with Kyle's cards.
Yes.
But he moves. He's a beast. He is at shows. He is like picking up slabs from one table, moving them within an hour, you know, making $200 or $300 on a deal. And he just keeps churning. And then he could have a $1,000 slab. And at the end of the day, he's got $6,000 worth of slabs or a $6,000 slab, right? Because he's just making $200 or $300 on every deal. Gosh. Right? And so he had set up we all set up together, but he set up his case with his stuff. And now Kyle and I have our own like PC together.
Gotcha.
Right. So we probably have between 10 and 30 slabs right now. I don't even know how many it is. I literally told him, I'm like, I got to hit up Clint from Zion to get another case that is Kyle and Dappz case, because I can't even keep track of it anymore.
Because I was wondering, if you have that many Star Wars, do people bring you sports cards too at a show like Dallas?
Listen, we're so well versed over here that my goal is to show people Star Wars. But if you want to make a deal for a sports card with me, like I don't really have to think about that.
Did you? Because I'm sure people want to know too, and I want to know because we go to these shows together. Did you buy any sports cards when you were in Dallas?
Yeah, for sure.
And what were you buying?
I think I was more. Well, I think I was more trading. Like I'll bring 10 to 20 of my own slabs and just stuff that like maybe I've been sitting on for 2 or 3 years. So that burrow that you saw in that video,
right? I
pulled that out of Phoenix when burrow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when it was a dual patch 2-color Phoenix to 25 auto. I think it got a PSA 9 auto 10, and I've had it for 2 or 3 years. And sometimes you're just ready to part with a card. I think we had it listed for $1,000. The guy offered me $850, and if you're going to sell a card on eBay, you're going to lose 13%. So I would have got $870 on eBay, and that guy wanted that card, and I didn't love it that much anymore. So for me, it's like I'm going to take that cash now, and maybe I'll take one of my current slabs plus cash and turn it into a bigger card. So for me, I'm usually at a show with my PC I always want to trade up into something bigger. You know what I mean? Like I want to take a $2,000 and a $2,000 slab and that $800 Joe Burrow, and now I got $2,800. How do I trade cash and that slab for a $3,000 slab, right? Or $4,000 slab, or whatever the deal I can make is. So I never really go into a show with like a real solid plan. Like my plan for Atlanta is like show people Galaxy 22. I'll have my cards on me that I'm willing to move. So I traded up for this. I traded into this this Mahomes XRC Select 9.5. That was like $2,200. I think I ended up trading for it or paying for it. And like, I think it's up right now just because of what he did. And I'm a big Joe Burrow.
Hopping on his 1 foot.
And listen, I'm a big Joe Burrow fan. If Mahomes is 100% healthy, I don't think the Bengals beat the Chiefs. And the reason for that is...
Really? I hope you're right, man, because I'm a Chiefs fan.
Yeah, and the reason for that is, I don't know, I know that Burrow has Mahomes' number, but the past...
I hope not.
I don't know if it's been every game, but at least 2 of the 3 games, the Chiefs went up big and then like took their foot off the gas and blew the lead. So, in my opinion, they've got a chip on their shoulder now because of that. And I don't think if they do go up in the game, they're going to let off the gas anymore. Like they've learned their lesson, so to speak. And again, I'm a big Joe Burrow advocate. And whether Mahomes or Burrow goes to the Super Bowl, I'm rooting for whoever goes probably. I'm probably going to be a Bengals or Chiefs fan in the Super Bowl. But listen, Jalen Hurts is young too. I like Jalen Hurts. I even like Purdy. I'm not a Niners guy. I've never...
You haven't been investing in Purdy?
No, well, no, and they also kind of screwed it up. Purdy isn't in every set.
Right.
So like he's not in a lot of sets which they kind of screwed up. So it's difficult when we're pricing breaks. It's like the Niners can't be that much if Purdy isn't in this particular box. I got to take this box out, right? So for me, in Atlanta, again, like I said, show people Galaxy, maybe find a Kobe that I like, maybe trade up into something else. Like I'm trying to trade up into $10,000 LeBron cards that I think are going to be in 10 or 20 years, maybe like 50 or 60K, because...
Is that your favorite player as well?
I don't know if he's my favorite player, but I like...
But investment-wise, it is.
I've played the game of kind of prospecting, so to speak,
right.
And I'm going to flip this guy and bet on this guy, and now I'm like, I don't love doing that. I don't want to keep up with the market like that and try to flip all these guys. I want to buy guys who I love the card and I stash it. And LeBron and Kobe, like I just don't think they're going down. And there might be dips in the market where they go down a little, but like over time, I think it just looks like if it's starting over here, it's slowly going up with LeBron and Kobe and Jordan. So there's all these Jordan cards from when I was a kid collecting in the 90s, short print out of 10, PMG out of 100, or just, it was a super short print. And those Jordans are doing 50, 60, 100K now, right? So, for me, I'm thinking, all right, these LeBrons in 10 or 20 years that are 10 grand or 5 grand, they're going to 10X, right? Or they're going to 5X, right? So that's kind of what I do. And then, if I end up trading up into a LeBron or a Kobe or whatever it is, and I end up having $2,000, $3,000 or $5,000 slabs, maybe I can trade that into a 15 or a 20 or a, trade for cash plus something, So that's kind of how I approach cards. And by the way, I'm also super aware that not everybody has $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to spend on cards, but these same rules apply at $200 or $300. I would advise everybody, whether it's Star Wars or sports or whatever it is, look for cards with low numbers of popular characters or players. That's my greatest recommendation.
Yeah, that's another question I was going to ask you. Do you think the really expensive cards are still selling well, or are people being more conservative, just buying things maybe less than $1,000 right now? Like, what do you see? What trending?
Well, I mean, listen, the fact that people are spending, I think, Mojo Star Wars 22. So you're familiar with Star Wars, the card in 22 Galaxy?
Right. That's the
cover art?
Cover, yeah.
Yeah. So a Mojo of that sold for $800, which if you compare with 21 prices, that's like absurd, right? And do I think that will hold? I don't know. But the fact that just did $800 in what we're being told is a recession, like we're in the middle of a recession, what happens when people have more disposable income? So for me right now, it's a buyer's market for both wax and singles and raw, and like just the amount of money you can make on eBay if you just sit there and like constantly, watch a bunch of slabs, watch a bunch of raw cards, and just watch them. And it takes time. It takes hours and hours of time, but the amount of money you can make by just kind of stealing cards when they're a little bit lower, right? Like this card regularly goes for 300. Why is some auctions end at 150 or 180? You just stole that for over $100 cheaper than what it should go for. Now, if you bring it to a card show, you can make a quick $100. And then, the phrase, like, you need money to make money, obviously definitely applies to cards. And again, it comes down to your risk tolerance and what you want to engage in. I don't love engaging in the game of, I'm going to, buy X amount of money of Patty Mahomes cards this week and hope he goes to the Super Bowl. Like, I don't want to play that game. That's because I've played that game before.
Yes.
Years ago, I bought a bunch of Zion. I would think it was his rookie year.
Yes, me too.
I was looking at Luka and I was looking at Zion. And I bought a bunch of, and I think I documented this. Like, there's a YouTube video you can watch of this. And I bought a bunch of Zion, and they were supposed to get the 8th seed in the playoffs, and it would have been Zion versus LeBron if that happened. And the coach benched Zion the end of the season, and they missed the playoffs. And then the cards that I bought literally went down to 50% of what they were worth. And I'm like, this sucks. And, with Luka, he like tripled in price in 2 weeks. Had I bought Luka instead of Zion in that moment, I would have 3x my money in less than 30 days. So it definitely works both ways. It's just, you got to have the stomach for that. You have to be ready to do that. And you really got to you could be so into the market too of what the prices are, but you also have to be good at scouting NBA or NFL players, because you bet on Zion or you bet on Luka. There's a degree of gambling in that, right?
Oh, so true.
I don't view Kobe and LeBron as gambling, right? I view those more, that's like trading, like day trading, right? What I just explained. Kobe and LeBron are like real estate. Like they're
already, I mean, even though LeBron is still active, there's pretty much like buying a Darth Vader. They've already established. They'll always be, part of history.
Right, correct. And it's just long term, they're going to go up, and it won't be crazy sexy, but for me, I plan to be in cards for a long, long time. This is I'm very fortunate because it's a hobby, but it's also what I do for a living now. And if I didn't do this for a living, I can't imagine I'd still want to do it. Right. It's something I enjoy doing. So I don't see myself not doing this no matter what happens.
Now, is that why you moved to Los Angeles?
No, actually, I moved from New York to LA before I started Dappz Sports. I actually had a company before I started Dappz Sports that helped people who are struggling with addiction and alcoholism.
Oh, wow.
So we would set up sober houses in West Hollywood and North Hollywood, Studio City, and just the Los Angeles area. And that's what I was doing up until I started Dappz Sports.
And when did you start that? During COVID or before?
That we started that company in 2017.
Okay. Wow. Really?
Yeah.
So you've been here for quite a while.
Yeah. I've been.
Oh, wow. So I thought you were an aspiring actor, Dappz.
No, they did hit me with a billboard though in LA that said, "Want to be an extra in a movie? Come to this studio." And I was like, maybe I do want to be an extra.
Did you do it?
Yeah. No. I went on these sets, and eventually I got booked as like a skateboarder for some music video for Converse, and it was a cool experience. And that's also kind of what led to me being a little more advanced or on another level in terms of content. So a hobby of mine before Dappz Sports also was I had this meme page, and it was just called Dappz.
Okay.
And I would just shoot skits with buddies of mine, right, in LA who I met on these extra gigs. And when I entered the sports card market again, I remember seeing everybody's Instagram page, and it was just pictures of their cards. And I'm like, I could do this way better, right? And that's when I started to film content for the hobby. And then I met Bo and Sam, and they completely took control of our TikTok account and creative. And then between Bo and Sam and me and all of our ideas and filming together, I think we were able to take a real grasp on the content of the sports card hobby. And it's been, just been a blessing to be able to produce content in sports cards and have a company that generates, income.
Yeah, because I was wondering, how you got into being a, content creator. Because when I saw your videos on YouTube, I mean, like you said, you're very articulate, you're very engaging. So I was like, oh, he must be an actor as well before he got into the card business.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps to have been in front of a camera. I mean, even if you're in front of an iPhone shooting skits, just get comfortable with something filming you and being in front of it. And some people shy away from that, right? But no, that was before we went on the whole tangent about the Kurosawa and the sale of the card. My next question for you was going to be what videos you were watching. Was it because that was before I did any type of streaming or breaking. All I was doing in the hobby was creating YouTube content based on.
This was definitely COVID right at the beginning, 2020 there.
Well,
I'm just stuck in my room, just trying to find content.
Just because I'm curious, what were you watching? Do you remember a video?
You're just showing you look like you're in your room or something. You're just showing your cards and you're talking about it. You're like, oh, I hit this card. And it was always some cool sports cards all the time. And you would just talk about it. And I just like the way you were articulate and the editing on it. Because it was a lot of jump cuts, but still it worked.
Do you know back then I edited all that?
You did? I figure you did it someone or your roommate or whoever, you never know.
And I have a great respect for editors now. Yeah. I have a great respect for editors now because of that. Because, dude, I would film that. It would take 30 minutes to film, and then it would take 8 hours to edit.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? Because
you did a great job.
Yeah, you're watching it. You're cutting out I'm creating those jump cuts, right? Because there's so much space. I'm not saying it all in one line, right? So you got to jump, and then I'm adding the graphics. but I'm teaching myself Final Cut, right? Like as I go, so I don't know how to put text on the screen, and then I don't like the way it looks, and I'm trying it, and then you're trying to figure out how to animate stuff, and I don't know how to do any of that, right? So
is that when you started doing that? Was that around 2020 as well, or when?
Yeah, I mean, I was probably editing like the skits that I had been shooting previously, so I've probably been like doing some form of editing for like 2 years before I did that, but it was just.
And little did I know this guy's like lives right down the street from me. Little did I know. I thought you were like in New York City. I had no clue where you were.
Yeah, so funny, and
it's so weird, right? So
meanwhile, I'm like less than a mile filming this thing probably from you, and like
probably less than that because almost all your crew all lived like a block or two from where I lived because I lived like between La Brea and Fairfax.
Those videos were actually shot at the Avalon, which is on Santa Monica by La Brea.
Oh, like yeah, definitely.
There's a Trader Joe's in the base of the building,
and
that's the Avalon building.
Is that where you used to live?
Yep, that's where I live.
Oh, my goodness. It's so close to me, where it used to be. It's still pretty close. I mean, your store is very close to me. It's on Curson and Melrose, and it's pretty cool. Man, I could have – my old place, I could have just walked down there all the time and see you.
Yeah, we could have been
filming. Because I was taking those walks all the time during COVID. My girlfriend and I, we were just like, let's walk. And I remember we were just wearing our mask outside all the time, not knowing if people past us were going to give us the COVID or not. And I was like, I've got to get back and watch some more Dappz videos.
Yeah, they were.
What's that?
No, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I just had a memory of like this COVID experience, and it's pretty much irrelevant. We don't need to talk.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I discovered so many videos during COVID because we were just, both of us stuck at home and not knowing we're going to get out, and that just kept my sanity going. So you've got Atlanta Culture Collision coming, and you're pretty much going to do the same thing as you did at Dallas. You're going to bring a lot of Star Wars. Probably just a handful of sports cards from your PC.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously cards, like I said, that like if somebody else wants them and they want to make an offer or want to trade with me, I'm always, kind of open. And I like the deal. Like, right. I like going back and forth with people and just chatting and seeing, there's just so many cards out there. Like I saw this black, it's a black refractor 08 Topps Chrome Kobe, and my buddy at the Dallas Card Show, his name is escaping me right now, but you probably know him too. He's always buying these Kobe's, and he's like, showing them to me, and usually we trade for him. And he gets this one at the Dallas Card Show, shows it to me, and then like doesn't want to make a trade. And I'm like, dude, why did you show that to me? But hopefully he still has it, and he's in Atlanta, or I'll see him at the next Dallas.
Are you going to try to work him in Atlanta?
Yeah, I'll try to.
Now, is it true? Like I always tell people, like if you display it, they will come. So did you see that in Dallas where a lot of people bringing you Star Wars cards, trying to sell them to you or trade?
Yep, 100%. A lot of people. And again, this, like I said, this is just the beginning of it all, because like, I don't know where people are hearing about this, but the amount of people who came up to listen, if you're at the show and somebody says, hey, you want to buy this card, this Star Wars card, they're going to go, no, but go over to Dappz. Maybe he'll buy it. Like,
right.
Saying that at the show. But, soon it's going to be, people are going to come to the show to try to find our booth to sell us Star Wars cards, right? Which is cool, right? Like, which is very cool. I mean, I have Merlin, this is super cool.
Okay.
We ripped a case. Me and Kyle ripped a case of Galaxy when it first came out, right? That's where we hit that super Vader concept card, right? So, we end up with an insane amount of refractors, right? And my thought process was, we have this $9 SGC submission. Let's just sub all of them, right? So we probably have like at minimum 100 SGC slabbed Galaxy cards, which I'm bringing to Culture Collision, and they're just going to be show your slabs. Corey built these 2 displays, and that's going to be on display, and nobody has that, right? Like nobody has that many and I don't even think anybody has any 22 Galaxy stuff slabbed, right? So
no, not much at all.
Yeah, we're going to have this absolutely ridiculous Star Wars display at Culture Collision. that, again, I'm just trying to bring eyes to the hobby. Check it out. Refractor, if it's a SGC9, it's probably $20, right? I'll sell them for $20 unless it's a Vader or whoever else. And if we have some 10s, the best ones will go for close to 100. Everyone else maybe like $50, So
do you ever see that maybe like SGC will give you a 9.5 and you think you deserve a 10?
Yeah, I was going through some of the grades that our customers got, and I thought but I thought there would have been more 10s, but some really good cards got 10s, so
okay.
I don't know. Again, it's with the borders, it's way easier to say this card is off center, right?
That is true. But I'm talking about like also for the Series 1 as well. That was having me for a while, and I cracked a few of my 9.5s. I just resent them to PSA, and they came back 10s.
Yeah.
I was like, man, SGC's grading too hard. Why are they doing this all of a sudden? Is it me? Or is it you? Like everybody? I don't know.
But the guys over at SGC have been great. I got nothing to say about them. My bigger cards, I'm definitely going to sub to PSA just because I think you're going to get a premium for your card if it Gemz on PSA, like a PSA 10 in relation to an SGC 10. You're just going to get a couple more bucks for. But again, the black slab looks good. It looks really good. So if you're just collecting, and you say, I like my slabs in SGC better than PSA, I'm not going to tell you different. You know what I mean? That's up to each individual person. So
now, what was the coolest card you've hit out of the new series of Star Wars Galaxy Chrome?
I don't know. Probably that super. I mean, it's just gorgeous. I don't know if you saw it, but it has like a gold border. That's the only part that's super, but it's like the concept Vader. It's just a cool card, and obviously it's a super. But some of my favorite cards, I actually I have them here. Some of my.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you next. Like, have you picked up any cards yourself? If you do, please show us.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorites. This one's called Stormtroopers Swarm Darth Vader, and this is a purple.
And that's numbered down 25.
Yeah, and they did a way better job, obviously, on the purple this year with the purple border. I mean, this is just cool. The art's sick. Vader, taking down the stormtroopers. So I love that print. Almost all the Vaders are sick, and there's a couple that I like more than others. This is another one of my favorites. I call this one Saber Down. It's actually called Lord Vader and his Stormtroopers. This is the X.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's an X-Fractor numbered out of 10.
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
I named it Saber Down. That's what we're calling it on stream, but
because the lightsaber is pointing down.
Correct. And it's I also kind of stole it from there's a Ronald Acuna rookie that's called Bat Down, and he has a print where his bat's like this, and then he has another print where he finished his swing and the bat is going down. So and then all of these cards right here are actually prepped for PSA. These will all go to PSA.
Oh, really?
And to be honest, we're like sending so many cards to PSA. I don't even know what's in here. I just saw a lack of faith on it.
You've been sending so many Star Wars cards to grading, to SGC and PSA.
Yeah. So this is a lack of faith atomic, which is sick.
And this is the one you said you had the bounty for, correct?
This is the one David Adams has the bounty for. As you can see, it's like Darth's holding almost like what looks like his heart in his hand, or a heart, or blood.
Yeah, it's like red. Oh, wow.
So the red of this is going to pop tremendously as well. Ooh. And then this is a Mojo Luke portrait.
50. That's beautiful.
Obi-Wan to 99 on the wave. So these portraits, the Vader, the Luke of these the supers, I think are going to go absolutely ballistic. Curator just sent us a picture. Somebody hit this the Han
Solo, of Harrison Ford.
Mojo Emperor.
Palpatine.
This is sick.
Ooh.
We hit the X of this too.
Oh, that's awesome.
This one's called the Dark Lord and A New Hope. So we got the wave and the prism right here.
Oh, wow.
R2 auto. That's Lee.
Lee T. Is he the new R2D2 after Kenny Baker?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool too. The portrait of R2D2. Is that an X-Fractor?
Yeah, that was an X.
It's like, okay, that's awesome.
So again, like the negative space, the blank space they leave in the background is crucial to a lot of these prints, which, I want to obviously talk to Tops and Fanatics about in the future. Is the more space you leave back there, like the more the card can pop.
Exactly, with that special type of refractor.
Right.
Be it a prism or a mojo or an X-fractor, like you said before.
Yeah. So it's just, like I said, man, I making money on flipping cards and selling cards is cool. Don't get me wrong. But, you and I know, like, we love these cards. Like, this is like, we're like geeks for this stuff, right?
Now, do you break other non-sports?
We have a lot of Spider-Man metal in stock.
Okay.
Right? And we'll actually be starting a stream called Dappz Galaxy in the next 60 days, which will be primarily non-sport. And there's no real rules to that yet, so to speak. But I want that. I wanted to create that because of the people who were saying to us, enough with the Star Wars. Like, I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to alienate our sports fans. I love both, but some people might hate Star Wars, and some Star Wars fans might hate sports. So there's no reason to make everybody aggravated. Like, let's just give the people what they want, right?
Yeah, I was wondering, do people give you hell too they accuse you of pumping and dumping Star Wars like they do with Curator and me?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've heard it all from everybody, yeah. and listen, ultimately, we can't, as
please everybody.
yeah, as influencers or whatever you want to call us in the hobby, right? Like, we can't be too hard on ourselves and let other people. I mean, people are going to criticize us no matter what, but we can't let that get to us. Listen, let anybody. I've already been through it with the content that I've created over the years.
I'm sure.
Like, you can't please everybody. And I've, gotten my feelings, so to speak, years ago about, oh, why did this person say this? And I'm texting them a YouTube comment. And then, one day it like clicked and I'm like, I'm not sending this. Like, I wrote it out. I'm like, right. What is the point? I'm like probably arguing with like a 12-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, I'm literally arguing with nobody. You just got to be confident in, like, listen, Merlin, you and Curator, you put this show on every week or however often you guys put this on. Like, it's a great show. You know what I mean? You got to be proud of it. You got to be, happy and inspired and think of new ways to be creative and show or talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about in the hobby, right? So, for me, I'm doing the same thing over here on my end and just trying to be creative, trying to, push the hobby forward, sports, Star Wars, whatever it may be, just like, put people on to what I love, right? And some people are going to love what I love. And people come into our TikTok stream every night and they're like, sports cards are stupid. What are you clicking?
They do?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, if I let that get to me every single time, I wouldn't be able to survive. So I don't, I think constructive criticism is positive for sure, but half the stuff or 95% of the stuff I don't even engage. Of course. I don't even read.
I'm sure you do this because you're passionate. You enjoy doing this. You love doing this, and that's probably why you're successful at this. And probably there's others who just hate you enjoying this and being successful at it.
Right. And you're going to have haters. I mean, I know curators creating content, answering some of those haters, over the last couple months. And, again, I see him do that. And sometimes I think, like, Dan, dude, you're doing an amazing job. You're crushing it. Like, the content you create is unique, and it's your brand, and nobody's like you in the hobby. And, like, that's super important. And don't let anyone get to you, dude. You don't have to answer these people.
No.
Like, you're pumping and dumping. Like, first off, even if you are, who cares, right? Like, if you're pumping something up, right, that you love and other people are doing it too, and you sell high, people do that in stocks all the time. It's for the last.
Yeah. And I don't think we're selling the amount of the stocks that people are accused of pumping and dumping. Like, how many cards does it take to dump?
Right. And listen, don't get me wrong. I understand if you're doing it in like a nefarious way and you're manipulating the market or whatever you're doing. But if I pick up a slab and I think it's awesome and I publicly say I think it's awesome, and then the whole market goes up and I sell it high, the question then becomes like, what have I done wrong? Right. Mm-hmm. So again, I liked his whole like pump what you like thing. You know, when he was doing that last year.
He's still doing it.
yeah. And I think that's 100% true. Of course, you should pump what you like, and you could call it pumping, or you could just be. You don't even need to call it pumping. If you're enthusiastic about what you're collecting, is that pumping? So again, let people hate. If that's, most people who are hating, so to speak, or leaving negative comments on somebody's YouTube video or Instagram or whatever it is, they've got some internal stuff going on.
Yeah, and if you're pumping and dumping, you're dumping things that that's never going to sell again. The thing with us and you and Dan, that we continue to bring it back. We're buying it just as much as we're dumping it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I hadn't even
even more.
Up until this last Dallas show, I had literally not sold any of my Star Wars Galaxy 21 that I had slabbed, that I personally pulled. Like, I hadn't sold any of it. So dumping, like, I haven't dumped anything, So, and there's with Galaxy, for me, there's so many cards that I like. My favorites, like my Vader X Fractor 21 or my red Reflections. Like, I don't even want to sell those, right? Like, I don't want to sell them because I like them. That's what I like to PC. So when I see those comments, I just think, or with Dan, I just hope that he realizes those comments don't matter. You don't need to engage with those people. If you have something that you really, really need to say to somebody, be true to yourself, obviously, but don't worry about those people. Like I said, they could be having a terrible day. You don't know what's going on in their life, right? Like,
right.
Their internal.
But don't try to get involved in it.
Right. Let them, if they want to be upset and miserable, like, you got to kind of just let them live, do their thing. Don't let them affect your energy, though. Keep a positive energy. Keep a smile on your face. Obviously, Dan and you guys are doing what you love, right? Like, you guys are engaged in the hobby, creating content, making a couple bucks while you're doing it. I would only look at that as a positive thing and keep doing what you're doing.
And that's all we get at those card shows. We don't get the negative Nellies there at all.
And again, I've been a victim of this as well. You have 99 positive comments and you have one comment, and then you only focus on that one that was negative, and you completely forget that 99 other people gave you love and support and encouragement, right? So again, those people, let them be. You don't need to engage with them. And listen, I'm not perfect either. Somebody might say something to me on a bad day, catch me on a bad day.
Exactly.
I respond to them, and then I think like, oh, why did I do that, right? But I like to write anything I'm going to write in a note, and then like write it out. You know what I mean? Put it off to the side, and then if I still want to write it 12 hours later or the next day, hit that send button. But most of the time, you're not going to feel the same way the next day. That's kind of how I look at that.
Okay, before we go to the comments next, Dappz, that I was going to ask you, because I noticed at the Dallas Card Show, this is a sports thing, that before the playoffs were beginning, like on that Saturday, say afternoon at the Dallas show, I noticed everybody was selling their Herberts, but people were also buying Burrow and Trevor. And then we started watching the game that night. I was at the PF Chang's with a bunch of guys, and the score already was like 27-0, Chargers over the Jaguars before at halftime. And I was like, oh my God, all those people dumping Herberts. And I was like, oh my gosh, they probably regret it now. But at the end, they probably made the wise choice. I don't know if you saw that as well. What do you think, in your opinion, this coming weekend, what do you think people are going to be, the customers are going to be trying to selling, and what do you think they're going to be buying?
Listen, what you shouldn't be doing right now is you shouldn't, right? This is an extremely risky time. What you shouldn't be doing is buying Mahomes or Burrow right now. And because here's the thing. It's complete gambling at this point, right? If you buy Burrow and he loses, whatever you buy that price for, you're buying it at an increased price right now. And it's going to go down at
regardless
30% is what I made. Minimum 30%. And if it goes high, and if it's jacked up right now, it has the ability to go down 50% because it's at a higher price than it should be, right? On the flip side of that is, you bet on Joe Burrow, Buy him now. He wins the Super Bowl in a couple weeks, and now his price 2, 3, 4x.
That's probably what happened last year too, right?
Right. So there's going to be a ton of sales. But like for me, I just got that Mahomes last week. I'm not selling that this weekend unless I get listen. If I get an offer for $1,000, if I can make $1,000 in 2 weeks selling that card, I'll probably sell it.
Okay.
But realistically, what I would like to do is just let it ride it out, because Mahomes already has his championship or his Super Bowl victory and his MVP. So his price, his bottom is kind of like higher than most, right? So for me, if I have an opportunity to sell that and make $1,000 this week, sure. But I'm not like actively trying to get rid of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I would like to happen is he wins another Super Bowl, and now that $2,300 like that I spent on that card is probably closer to $5K, right? And now I've doubled my money. But again, here's the thing: on a $2,300 card, if I can make $1,000 on it next week, guaranteed cash, or this weekend,
yeah,
right? Like I can guarantee that $1,000. Do I want to take the risk to make another $1,700? And again, I would probably argue no. Like I'd rather just guarantee the $1,000, right? I don't need to make another $1,700. It's okay. Like I'm just going to cash that out. So again, that's just risk tolerance and what people, can handle in terms of nausea in their stomach.
And how about for basketball guys? I mean, like the current players are hotter. Of course, Jokic and Giannis and Jason Tatum and John Morant. Like, what do you think about investing in those right now?
I think that the best time to buy is in the off season.
Okay.
Particular player, I think you'll get a 30% discount on whatever you're buying.
So the hype's too hype right now, as you would say.
I think it's the best time to buy baseball.
Now.
Buy it now, but you only have like 60 days, or it's going to heat up as soon as you see spring training and people start to hit home runs and ESPN starts to post those home runs. That's when the prices go up. So if you're not sitting on them right now, if you're not buying right now, you're going to miss it. And then I would argue you should buy and then sell before the season even starts. Like try to churn out 15, 20, 30% if that's your game, if you're a flipper, right? But again, that's you have to also like be really into whatever sport you're watching and know who's going to hit home runs in spring training. Because whoever's going to hit home runs in spring training, their price is about to go up double or 50% or 30%, right? So if you could, and again, this is where if you have if you have $100,000, right? If you have $100,000 and you're like, I want to put it in stocks, or I want to put it in crypto, or I want to put it in real estate, or whatever you're going to put it in. If you're an excellent baseball scout and you're like, Wander Franco is about to hit 10 dingers in preseason or in spring training, you dump $100K in the Wander cards right now, like, and he doesn't even need to make it to the beginning of the season. You could sell them before the season starts, But again, there's the risks in that are, what if Wander Franco breaks his leg in spring training? So
no. Yeah,
you just have to take care of all these things, and that's not.
It's like Tatis last year.
Right. And I don't really play that game. I'm not going to buy $100,000 or $10,000 or $5,000 worth of Tatis cards. But I might see a Tatis card that I think is super low print, unique, and I'm like, that's a bargain, and I'll buy it. You know what I mean? Because he comes back from his suspension, he hits a couple home runs, and it's kind of just like, all right, well, now I'm at the Dallas Card Show in August or whenever it is, and I reach into my bag and I'm like, oh, I still have this Tatis card. Okay, yeah, let me check the current price. Oh, it's double. Okay, cool. I'll sell it now, right?
Oh, wow. Yep. So maybe I should buy my Trevor Lawrence now or wait till summer?
No, you shouldn't wait till summer. You should wait till football ends. Trevor Lawrence is already going down, so he's probably down. Right. First off, he went up 40%. He went up 40% after he won.
Right? Last week.
Right.
Or, yeah.
So he won. He went up 40%. Now he's coming back down to probably where he was, and then over the next 30 to 90 days, he'll go down and down and down. And now you can buy him at a 30% discount and then sell him at whatever he was at before he went 40% up. I believe he'll go 30% below that number, and then he'll go back to that number, right? And then, if they end up talking about him or he does something big in preseason, that's where his price can go up again. But it's about scouting. It's really, and my grandfather was a scout for the New York Jets, so I'm a big Jets fan. I used to go to the
I
stadium.
was going to wonder what fan you were, because you said Chiefs and someone else. I was like, wait a minute, but didn't you grow up in New York area?
Yeah. So, I'm my grandfather scouting background, right? And even me, like learning everything I learned from him, that's not easy to do, man. I mean, there's professionals who work for the NFL or, whatever franchise it is, and they get it wrong, right? So, you gotta really be putting in hours and hours and hours of research, and then you gotta back that with funding, and your hard-earned cash. It's not easy. You have to. I would not advise anybody to do that unless they're like putting in the hours and the time and the work and the research. It's a grind. It's a grind. And if you're grinding, you can make money, right? But that's an individual thing, right?
God, how do you keep up with all these cards, dude? How do you do it?
It's again, like when you're seeing cards getting ripped every day, you get curious. Oh, what's that sound for? Oh, what's that sound for? But I mean, listen, people come up to me all the time. Hey, what's this worth? I'm like, I have no idea. What do you think? I just know every single card value?
Yes, you don't?
Right? So I can always make like a good guess, but I'm gonna, stretch out that range. Yeah, it could be 300 to 500 because I don't know if it's 500 this week or 300, right? So
or 5,000.
Right.
So let's go through the comments now, okay? And then I know you probably want to go eat dinner, so let's go through the comments before we end the show, okay?
Let's do it.
Good vibes. Anyone there? Yes, we're here. Good evening. Adrian, CV Sports Cards. What's up, guys? What's up, Adrian? Ed Ram, evening, fellas. Evening from Houston to you, Ed. HKY Barn Collectibles. Evening, gents. Evening. Derek, is it true the Great Curate get kidnapped? Yes, I think he's in the black market right now trying to sell some Star Wars cards in South Korea. So hopefully he comes back alive. And I think someone said, hope he comes back with his kidneys. I hope so too. Andrew, question for Merlin Dappz. What is a sport or a non-sport that you think is underrated right now and should have more attention and hype in your guys' opinion? Dappz, you want to take that?
What is a sport and or non-sport? I mean, listen, again, not to keep, putting light on Galaxy, but I would say that in comparison to 21 Galaxy, which is now $800 per box, I think they're still around $350 right now. I think they're going to go up in price. I think there's a lot of cards that haven't been pulled yet. Again, I don't really know. I would really need to know, like, is $350 a lot to you? What is your budget like? Because I think you could stash these cases. I know somebody in the comments said they like to stash cases. I think that's a relatively safe play. And then if you want to open boxes, there's a lot of atomics that are selling for like $100. So you're raw. So if you could gem a couple of those pay for each box on each atomic. So again, I'm not when it comes to non-sport, Merlin and Curator are way more advanced than I am. When it comes to sports, I like to stick to Prism, and part of the reason is it's just there's the most sales. It's the most liquid card you could sell.
Oh, really?
So that's football and basketball, and hopefully to be baseball licensed when Fanatics purchase Panini. I hope that goes down. And then baseball's Dappz Chrome. So first Bowman and Dappz Chrome in baseball. So I would if you were looking at cards to buy for baseball right now, I would stick to Dappz Chrome, find the rookies that you like, and then try to get a low numbered card of the guy who you think might have a potential of being an MVP or hitting the most home runs. Home runs is a category that gets people excited. Mm-hmm. And, if you're hitting a lot of home runs, and also look at the market they're in, like New York and LA, there's more buyers and there's a higher demand for the cards, as opposed to if you play for, the Minnesota Twins, the Minnesota market just might not be, have as many buyers in it, right? So if you're hitting home runs in Minnesota instead of New York, it's just you might not get the bang for your buck. So I know that doesn't really answer your question, but that's what I would advise there.
Now, do you rip any pro wrestling?
We ripped Prism, and we ripped some like Chronicles.
And how's that going?
Select.
Is wrestling pretty popular?
Yeah, we usually have some type of wrestling in stock, and it's not that I don't keep it in stock because I don't like it. It's just like we're usually just running through some other product in a high volume. And I'm like, oh, we don't have any more wrestling, and then I'll order some, right? So that's kind of how that goes.
All right. Let's see. Vince, Dappz is seriously giving away a superfractor tonight? Yeah, I don't think so. Are you, Dappz? Or on your other shows?
I'm giving away one a night for the rest of the year.
See, Charles Fox, the Huddle. What's up, Charles? Zach of all trades. Does modern have long-term intrinsic value?
Zach of all trades, I think what you're really looking for in modern, so to speak, is short prints, right? Numbered 1 of 1, number 1 of 5, number 10 of 10, SSP, super short print, SP, short print, right? Short prints, PSA 10s are always going to garner a higher number. And then, the player, if it's an athlete, it's a player who you believe is going to win championships or MVPs. And I would say championships go above MVPs. Like Tom Brady's got 7 championships. Aaron Rodgers has 5 MVPs. Like Aaron Rodgers is never going to be the price of a Tom Brady card.
No. So Dappz, Yankees or Mets?
I'm a Mets fan.
Okay, Rangers or Islanders?
Islanders. Grew up going to that park all the time. Yeah.
I'm glad I know this now. HKY Barn and Collectibles. Is it true Curator is at a K-pop concert tonight? Yes, he is. He's at Blackpink. Ed Ram. Hopefully Dan comes back without a missing kidney. Yeah, we're worried about him too. Vintage Lord Canada. I think Darth got injured a few times, so we made that joke. Charles, I like to build Marvel PMG rainbows. Have you now ripped any Marvel, you said?
Dappz? Yeah, we've ripped a bunch of Marvel. It got really hot for a minute, and then I think we got a case of it, and we probably have like 4 or 5 boxes left from that case that have just kind of been stale on our site. But I think it's when people rip it and then they see a big PMG get hit, that's when it sells.
Okay.
Like, it's just, that's why I want to create Dappz Galaxy too, just, for a place for people to rip.
How much are the Marvel metal boxes going for right now?
Dude, they're not cheap, man. They're like $700.
They're like, but they've kind of stayed the same. I think they started like 600. Is that right?
We were selling packs, but they were like $69 a pack. Like that's a lot a pack,
Man, did you pull any good PMGs out of them?
Yeah, we pulled some really cool stuff. Some like we pulled I think a Wolverine. We pulled a Venom. We pulled a bunch of cool. I think we pulled a 101 purple. Like wasn't the best character, but it was still cool.
Still cool. Yeah, I'm sure there's someone wanting it, or did someone would win that, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Adam, I can't wait to rip my second box of Chrome. I hope you get some good ones, buddy. CV Sports Cards. Dappz, are you always in the market to pick up more 21 Galaxy cards? I have an X-Fractor and a red refractor if interested.
You can always send DMs, Dappz Sports, and I'll try to check them ASAP. Sometimes we take a little longer than we got a couple people managing the account. So
there you go.
I'll try to get in there.
And James, here he goes. Firm believer in stashing cases. That's my strategy. James, also, he's from Austin, Texas. He set up right across from me next to the Golden booth at Dallas. Yes.
Me and James are homies. Yeah.
He's a great guy. Good to see you, James. Global Sports Card Investor. Good day there, legends. Good day from Australia, brother. We have a lot of Australians always watching our show. Cards over $500 are getting harder to sell. Do you agree, Dappz?
I don't disagree, but I mean, if you looked at Galaxy 22, there's a lot of sales going over $500. So
I think I don't know if we asked this question, but you can answer it again. Do you own any Purdy flawless cards?
I don't own any Purdy cards. No.
Is there a Purdy flawless card?
Maybe collegiate. I don't think flawless footballs came out yet.
Okay. Swami, this guy thinks right. I guess that's you, Dappz. I wish I bought some Galaxy. I prefer it to other sets. Yep. Vince, Merle, rip one now, dude. No, I'll rip one later. Dappz has got to go soon. He's hungry. He's probably been ripping all day long. When do you start ripping, dude?
We start ripping at 7 a.m. But
7? You too?
No,
You're
I
up at 7?
I don't wake up that early. I'm usually in the shop until like 1 a.m. and then I'll probably wake up at like 9 after I get my 8
Oh,
hours.
you're a night owl.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, you're like me because I'm an editor, so I'm used to staying up late. What's this one say? Gosh, dip some cards, Zach of all trades. Ed, unfortunately, most of these dealers have showcases of the same players and overpriced. Is that true, Dappz?
Well, listen, Ed's not wrong. Part of the reason we sell Star Wars is because everybody's got sports, right? So we're just trying to be a little different than the next guy, right?
Yeah. Now, here's a question I want to ask for the viewers. Is your store open yet to public?
We were open. We'll be open again soon. We're actually going to be having a Star Wars night, February 24th. Merlin and Curator will be there.
Mm-hmm.
We got some surprises I haven't even told you yet, Merlin. So
can't wait to hear about it.
We'll be building out the guest list for that, guys. If you're in the Los Angeles area, we would love for you to come by. Collectibles, kind of like a trade night activation. So keep that on your radar, February 24th.
All right. Venom. Just triple Kelsey. I know Pop Count loves Kelsey. You like Kelsey too?
Yeah, I'm a Kelsey.
Non-QB, me too. My girlfriend loves Mahomes and Kelsey. I have to take her to every Chiefs game. Andrew, Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl. Hope you're right. Are you an Eagles fan too? Or you despise the Eagles?
I'm not an Eagles hater. I like Jalen Hurts.
Let's see. Trader Griffs. Adam, what's up, Merlin? Thoughts on Burbank Card Show coming to Anaheim Convention Center over Labor Day weekend? I think it's going to be a huge show. Dappz, are you going to attend that? Are you set up as well?
Yeah, I think that I just learned about that yesterday. I think that's a great idea by Burbank Sports Cards. I think they're doing a great thing for the hobby by putting these shows on. So we're going to try to collaborate with them whatever way we can, whether it's content or figuring out activations in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. Ed Ram, Dappz, hopefully you didn't run into Bill Cosby. Good Lord, okay. Trader Griffs, Adam, I got up to walking 6-mile walks during COVID, crushed a bunch of books on Audible. I heard you, man. Yeah. That's what we had to do, keep our sanity in the city. CV Sports Cards, what's up, Adam? Okay, it's Adrian. Okay, they're just having their conversation there. See here. Trader Griffs, you setting up at the Ontario show? Yes, we are. Both are. Adrian, yes, next to Merlin, taking over. Okay, these are those guys. Okay, let's see here. They're having a conversation with themselves. Dappz, you are the real deal, man. Did you know that, Dappz? You're the real deal?
I appreciate you, Vince. Merlin doesn't tell me enough. So
you should start a card management therapy company. I think he's already doing that. Emmanuel, great show, guys. Yay, Bo, collectibles coming to Atlanta this weekend for Culture Collision. Yes, Dappz says, I am not, so look for him. You said you're going to have a booth, correct?
I'll be there. I'll be set up with both Zion cases and Corey from Show Your Slabs.
So if you got some super fractors, bring them to his table. Trader Griff's Baseball, I'm grabbing smaller production runs of J-Rod. He's going to be fire come spring training. So I guess get them now, like Dappz said. Yay, Bo, I got Dan in the black pink. Remember Merle? Oh, my gosh. Yes, you did. I remember that. That was actually last year at the Culture Collision in Atlanta. He sold those cards you sold to us at trade night. It was a good trade night there at the Marriott Hotel. Hendry buying top guy for 2019-20 and Vlad. And is that Jordan or Jordan?
Jordan.
It is Jordan. Okay, Topps Chrome Sapphire any day. Jordan's still cheap. Why is Jordan cheap, Dappz?
Pena won the MVP for the Astros. So Jordan, I think he's like an MVP caliber player. So that I don't disagree. I think Jordan has room to go up.
And then finally, last question here. Flippin' Steve, Merle, show me an awesome pop culture card. I always love having Flippin' Steve. Hopefully he's going to be on my show pretty soon. Steve, I am a big, Dappz, do you know I'm a big wrestling card collector as well?
For sure.
Just as much as I do Star Wars and music and all that. So, Dan and I are going to be set up at the Wrestlecon during WrestleMania. You're probably going to be at the Mint Collective that weekend, correct?
Yes.
But we're going to be here at Wrestlecon, so we'll miss you unless you want to come to WrestleMania with Dan and I. I'd love to see you there.
Future, yeah. You let me know about these off sport events and all.
Dan wants to buy seats in the first 5 rows, and I went to go look, and they're starting off at $10,000. So I don't know if you have that much money for WrestleMania for 2 nights. I told him I'm going to take out a mortgage or something, but I'm investing in Sami Zayn cards right now. He is big, and he's on the bloodline, a big story going on, and he's going to be, I think, super hot during WrestleMania because he's going to be, I think, that time a babyface and turn on Roman Reigns. And then if you watch AEW, he's not a star wrestler. He really doesn't wrestle, and when he does, he gets his ass whipped every single time. But he's really popular, and I sold every single card of his at the Dallas Card Show, and that is Dan Housen.
Cool.
He's evil and he's nice. So that's my autograph. So that's what I've been buying, flipping Steve. I will talk to you later. Dappz, is there any shout outs or plugs before we end? Let me know. Tell the audience.
Shout out Merle World Card. The
Great Curator. Yeah, make sure you subscribe to me. If you're watching this on the Great Curators channel, don't do it. Go to my channel and subscribe to Merle World Cards. Make sure you hit the like. And for those, I mean, of course, you probably know who Dappz is, but if you don't, you're living under a rock. Go to Instagram, follow him at Dappz Sports. He's on TikTok, and he's also on YouTube at Dappz Sports. That's DAPPZ. I'll have it in my descriptions in YouTube, and that's it. Dappz, anything else?
Nah, man, but definitely watch the last YouTube video you're in that we posted.
So. I heard, and I also watched your top 5 MVPs, whatever Super Bowls card with you and Pop. That was a good video. So that just came out today as well, correct?
Yep.
So guys, check that out as well. It was a great video, and check out all the videos. The one that I'm in, apparently I have 1 million views, so let's check it out. So make sure you like it. Because of Dappz, I've become a big celebrity. Thank you, Dappz, so much. Thanks for being my co-host this week. And I can't wait to have you on more videos, and I can't wait to be in more of your videos, dude, in the coming future.
I'm excited, Merle. I'll see you. I wish you were at Atlanta, but I'll see you soon, all right?
Have a good one, buddy. See y'all next week, everyone. Bye-bye.